Welcome to the Tatsumi Nomori Seaside Park, and hello and welcome to the Tokyo Aquatics Center. We are in the Japanese capital for day 4 of the swimming competition. And so far it has been utterly enthralling. A captivating set of sessions on every day of competition. A preliminary session in the morning Tokyo local time, and in the afternoon into early evening it is finals session. A chance for the swimmers in session 1 on the day as day 4 of competition gets underway to book their places in the respective heats, in the respective finals. These are the heats that will be swum this morning, a handful of heats that will go to 3, including the women's 150-meter individual medley, which should be utterly fascinating. There's a host of other IMs, including the women's 200 SM8. We've got some sprints with the S10s, the athletes with the least severe physical impairment. But we also have the women's 100-meter breaststroke SB6. We'll start off with the men's 100-meter breaststroke SB6. But the reason I mention this is, Deb Gruen, this was your race, and you've medaled in this race, a multiple medalist.
Yeah, it was, and now it's really strong. I was just looking at the heat sheet, and it's stacked. You've got Liu Daomin, who recently broke the world record, Sophia Harsog from the United States, Macy Summers-Newton, who just dominated the 200-meter individual medley already, and also Ellie Simmons, one of the major names from Great Britain. So I can't wait to see how that goes off. And I'm hoping there's going to be another world record from Liu Daomin.
So the men's 100-meter breaststroke SB6 heat is the first event on the schedule in the preliminary session on day 4 of competition. Yevgeny Borodaiko, the world record holder, the reigning champion, but a man who ended up being disqualified from one of his favorite events. He'd be wanting to make up for that somewhat. And he'll be going in the heats this morning, but in the second heat against the world champion, Crispin of Colombia. First heat, the likes of Yang Hong and Nakamura Tomataro. Third and fastest and fourth fastest in the world this year. And both hoping for a medal shot with a good performance in the preliminaries. Tokyo 2020, it's brought glory, delight, disappointment, some of the most incredible storylines as well. This has been a unique event in unique circumstances, and there's been an element of the unpredictability about it. But let's get underway with the men's 100-meter breaststroke SB6. Swimmers will be introduced independently for the final session. For the heat session, they will make their way out in a group to the pool deck. Leading out the swimmers from Greece is Panagiotis Christakis. Chia Hong-Wang, already a medalist. William Perry is going to be last out. He will go in lane 1 for Great Britain. Andrei Trusov also. There is Perry. Andrei Trusov will be another swimmer to watch, but this is Zach Shattuck of the United States. Really upped the intensity in his training routines in the hope of making finals in every one of his events. There's the bronze medalist, silver medalist rather, from London 9 years ago. Here's the bronze medalist from Rio 5 years ago. Yang Hong, also a silver medalist at the World and at the Asian Para Games. Third fastest in the world this year. It's Nakamura who swims alongside him, fourth fastest in the world this year. Christakis of Greece going in lane 7. He's never made a Paralympic final, but he's made World Championship finals. William Perry of Great Britain going in lane 2 in this first heat. Going in lane 1 rather, on the outside. Onto the blocks. Perry, Trusov, Shattuck, Young, Nakamura, Chia, Christakis. Shattuck getting off to a splendid start. Great reaction time from the American as he heads into the water. He and certainly William Perry got off to very quick starts. So 2 lengths of this 50-meter pool. At the moment, it is Andrei Trusov, already a silver medalist in the IM. And Nakamura and Young look to be pushing for second and third as of now.
Yeah, Trusov, he did get off to that great start. Young, I do think you're going to start to see him more. He's got the power of his legs, and breaststroke is a stroke that's 75 to 80% legs. So we should see Young, so long as he can keep it up, start to take over in the second 50.
So Young, a silver medalist at the World Championships and at the Asian Para Games, is going to be out of the first 3 at touching, but he does have the stronger back end, and he's looking to use his underwater here.
Yeah, here you see Trusov, he's starting to tighten up a little bit, and he's really starting to fade. Young is starting to come up on him right there, right in the middle of the pool.
And losing his swim cap. Andrei Trusov has got Zach Shattuck in between him and Young, who at the moment is coming up very nicely through the center in lane 4. Young is really into his stroke. Nakamura is tightening up quite severely. Jia Hongwang as well is also just tightening, but this is going to be fairly comfortable for Young. The bronze medalist of 2016 will come home in a comfortable time of 1:22.76, but who's going to touch third at the moment? There are 3 swimmers that came to the line almost at exactly the same time. Less than 0.4 of a second separating 3 to 5, but no doubt about the victor in Yang Hong. Nakamura touching second fastest. He looked to be tightening a little, but closed it out. There's the swim cap.
Just hanging out on the bottom of the pool.
Yeah, Zach Shattuck, it looked like going out. It might just be holding on, but after he made the turn, off it went. Great reaction time from him off the blocks.
He did, yeah, he had a great start, but he just wasn't really able to hold on at the end. You did see him start to fade. And you know, Young, he also didn't have the greatest of starts, but he's really able to rely on his legs. He's got that slow, deliberate stroke, and here's the kick. He uses what he has of his upper limb to help him balance here and to drive through the water. It's such a powerful kick, and he's able to really turn it on as he approaches that final 5 meters. It was a good swim for him, 1:22.76.
Good swim as he makes his way out. Yes, indeed. A fairly confident margin of victory as well. Effectively 2.5 seconds ahead of anybody else in the pool. Nakamura touched 6th at 50, but came back very strong. Jia Hongwang eventually held on for 3rd, but 0.4 of a second separating 3 to 5. Second heat of 2 for the men's 100-meter breaststroke SB6, and it pits the world champion against the defending champion.
Yeah, and Bodaiko, after the disqualification, I do think that he is going to really want to swim deliberately and well this first preliminary heat. He absolutely needs a seat to get into finals this time.
So Yevgeny Bodaiko, disappointment for him in the men's 200 IM, where he was disqualified. That's Bence Ivan from Hungary, a race in which Matthew Levy goes for Australia, and a race in which Rudy Garcia-Tolson goes for the United States. IM has always traditionally been his strength, Rudy Garcia-Tolson, but now beyond his best. There is the world champion in 2017 and 2019. A gold medalist already here at the individual medley, and looking to become Colombia's first time multiple gold medalist at the Paralympic Games. There's Garcia-Tolson, a legend of parasport, triathlon, 5-time Paralympic Games medalist. Pipo Carlomagna, Gutierrez, Levy, Crispin, Bodaiko, Garcia-Tolson, and Ivan. Great start from Gutierrez of Mexico, getting off very quickly, but Levy pops up a little sooner than, alongside him in Crispin and Bodaiko. Bodaiko's underwater, sensational, and it's seen him come out almost half a body length ahead, but great into his stroke is Matthew Levy, who's in the pool for a long time this morning doing warm-ups.
And then here's Bodaiko, who's already starting to fade. Bodaiko, he has the advantage off the start, but here comes Crispin Corzo. He comes up high every stroke. He does breathe. He has, the use of all 4 limbs. But now as he's approaching the wall, he needs to make sure that it's hard for him to not overswim this first 50, and then on the way home, he needs to build it and set himself up well for tonight. But Matt Levy right now is going very strong.
So Matthew Levy of Australia does look to be the man to beat at the moment. He's not the fastest in the world this year, and certainly the likes of Crispin have been going at least 5 seconds faster. And you expect Crispin Corzo, the reigning world champion, to come home a little stronger than everybody else. Born and raised in Bucaramanga in Colombia, he has never changed. He's never moved to a larger city. He continues to train in the same pool, and he's become a Paralympic gold medalist. This is the event that he'd be wanting to win to become Colombia's first 2-time Paralympic Games gold medalist in any sport. He touches first in the heat, and Crispin Corzo is the man to touch first ahead of Matthew Levy, and Bohodaiko holds on for 3rd overall, the defending champion. But a good time in a faster heat. Nelson Crispin Corzo. Now, both he and Bohodaiko capable of going well faster. Although Bohodaiko has the world record, Crispin's personal best is just 0.9 of a second off, 0.9 of a second off, I should say.
Yeah, and the start, Bodaiko got off to the early start, but then it was Crispin Corzo who sort of just soared right past him during the end of the first 50. What makes Crispin Corzo stand out, though, really, once he gets past this turn, because you had Matt Levy actually had a great turn here, is Crispin Corzo's closing speed. There is no one in this pack, really, maybe besides Bodaiko, if he's swimming well, that can close with Crispin Corzo, and that's what's going to make him stand out tonight.
Already the IM champion. So 120.22 sees him separated from the defending champion by Australia's Matthew Levy. Advancing to the final, into another final in his glittering career, Rudy Garcia-Tolson qualifying 6th fastest overall. Andrei Trusov only just sneaking in. He'll be one of 2 Ukrainians. The other is the world record holder and defending champion in Yevgeny Bohodaiko. Young, Levy and Crispin qualifying fastest. This is the women's 100-meter breaststroke, SB6. You might get an extra sense of anticipation and excitement from one of us. Kissa going for Canada in 2, Sanas of Hungary. Summers Newton, one to watch, fastest in the world this year. Ellie Simmons goes in 5 and Nicole Turner goes in 6. The first heat of 2 in the women's 100-meter breaststroke SB6, and this is a race that you not only competed in, you were in that great final in Beijing 2008.
Yeah, that
you medaled with Liz Johnson, claiming victory.
Yeah, she and I we're actually best friends. She's in Great Britain doing the commentary for the Tokyo 2020 Paralympic Games right now. But here's Macy Newton's. I mean, look at her stroke rate, even in comparison to Ellie Simmons. And Ellie is one of the greatest breaststroke swimmers from Great Britain. She's one of the greatest Paralympic swimmers, I'd say, of all time. But Macy Summers Newton right now is just blowing her out of the water. Look at her turnover. She's not breathing every stroke, which allows her to go even faster and use her arms to the best she can. And she comes into the wall 42.99, very fast first 50 for her. And she needs to maintain that speed. The second heat, especially Leo Dalmin, is going to be very fast. And so Macy Summers Newton, she has to be able to hang with her that second half.
Macy Summers Newton, the fastest in the world this year. She was a silver medalist at the World Championships, which is something that she wants to improve on with a gold medal here already. A champion in the 200 individual medley. That's somebody who is a multiple World Championship medalist and indeed the European champion in this event. She is looking to prove her credentials and lay down a marker, it seems, for the way she's dominating this race. It's not going to be in world record time, but it's going to be so dominant a display that she's going to touch well ahead, almost 10 meters ahead of the swimmers. Looks like Ellie Simmons is going to touch second, and Nicole Turner of Ireland is going to touch 6th. Saras and Kissa will be last to come. But a Paralympic record time then for Maisie Summers-Newton, who breaks Tiffany Thomas-Kane's record set in Rio. But some way off the world record. But a phenomenal race, and the way she took it out. Just coming home a little more comfortably once she had known she'd set up the dominant opening 50. She went out under 43, and no other swimmer went out under 47.5. So then taking it home a little more comfortably. Maisie Summers-Newton, 1:33.12, a new Paralympic record.
Here they are coming off the block. Maisie Summers-Newton, she does that slight fly kick underwater and then immediately goes into the stroke. But I think what's so amazing about this swim is just the speed of her stroke rate. She doesn't get a ton off the wall, but she immediately turns it on and goes right into that stroke, doesn't breathe. She might have gone out a little fast for her, and what's going to be hard tonight is just trying to come home, especially with Leo Dalmine, who we're now going to see in the second heat.
So confirming Great Britain 1-2. Simmons touches second, but behind the Paralympic record holder now, and Maisie Summers-Newton in her Paralympic Games debut.
This is Heat 2.
This is Heat 2 of the women's 100-meter breaststroke SP6 with Berube, Wegerman, Liu, Herzog, Savtsova, and Aibar. Now this is massive for Aibar, going for Dominican Republic in 7. She's the first Dominican Republic swimmer ever to make a World Championship final, and she becomes the first swimmer ever from Dominican Republic to jump into a pool at the Paralympic Games. She goes in 7. Lord Alejandra Aibar. But the world champion and world record holder Liu Daomin of the People's Republic of China goes in 4. Alongside the 2017 world champion and silver medalist of 2016 in Sophia Herzog of the United States. So Liu Daomin has not been swimming competitively very much, but she is the world record holder. But this is a great looking stroke from Sophia Herzog.
Yeah, I mean, Sophia Herzog, what you're going to see right now is you have really a mix of impairments. You have Mallory Wegeman, who's entirely on her arms. So she needs, and she's doing right now a great job of keeping her hips up. You've got Liu Daomin, who's on her legs mostly, and she's going to have a stronger back half because her arms aren't going to give out. She's not going to go into that oxygen deprivation. But then you have Sophia Herzog, who's looking great right now. I didn't actually expect her to be able to hang with Liu Daomin, but she did. So Sophia, she needs to keep up this pace this second half.
So Sophia Herzog, who had her struggles with the pools being closed during the COVID-19 pandemic, but found herself being able to access the Arkansas River in Colorado and ended up doing a little open water swimming to try to keep up with her practice routine. And so far, she's managing to keep up with Liu Daomin, and now just ahead of her as well. Herzog is the second fastest in the world this year in this distance, although around 2.5 seconds behind Summers-Newton of Great Britain. But Liu Daomin is coming back, is fighting harder. Someone who made the 200 IM final. It's going to be these two who touch first, and Liu just out-touches Herzog. The battle for the third seems to be won by Victoria Savtsova of Ukraine, who does touch just ahead of Wegerman and Berube of Canada going in 1. But the first Dominican Republic swimmer to make a World Championship final, the first to medal at a Parapan Games, and the first to jump in the pool for Dominican Republic in Alejandra Aibar. Touches 6th, 1:53.25. A PB and a proud moment to represent her country. Herzog is...
So Herzog, she flew off the block, but then Liu Daomin has the advantage because he's got the kick coming up. You know, with this heat, it was actually slower than it appeared because Liu Daomin and Herzog, they really were stroke for stroke at the end, but they ended up with 1:35.43, which is slower than Maisie Summers-Newton time from, heat 1. Here they are coming in. Sophia Herzog, she had a great first 50, but wasn't quite able to close with Liu Daomin, who was able to use her legs and power into the wall.
So Liu Daomin, the world record holder only just sneaks it by 0.07 of a second ahead of Sofia Herzog, and Victoria Savtsova closing fastest to edge out Camille Berube, Mallory Wegeman, and then history maker for Alejandro Aybar. Confirming who advances to the final, Savtsova and Berube sneak in. Nicole Turner, chance for her and Ellie Simmons perhaps to push for a medal, but it does seem as if it's down to Great Britain, China and USA for gold, silver and bronze. Summers Newton, quickest in the world this year, and a Paralympic record to advance. Now to the heats of the men's 100-meter freestyle S10. And there will be a few familiar names here after the opening two breaststroke events in the session. The first of the races in which medalists go in the S10. Raimondi of Italy. 100-meter breaststroke gold for the 23-year-old. With the world record held by the Paralympic champion of London, Andre Brazil. He was beaten by Maxim Kripak in 2016. There's Tommy Gallagher, also a man who's competed at surf lifesaving in Australia. Julie, Levesque, Raimondi, Gallagher and Lima. Levesque getting off to a really good start for Spain, but using the underwater really well, and popping up in front is Raimondi going in 4, but Thomas Gallagher is quick in the stroke.
Yeah, Raimondi looks great right now. You know, he was able to use his underwater to get ahead, and the introduction of the underwater on your front in 100 freestyle, it's relatively new to the sport of swimming, and when I say new, I mean, you know, 4 or 8 years. But it does allow someone, even in a sprint event, to just pop up ahead, which is what you need in such a short distance.
So a good looking swim here from the Italian Raimondi. He's just keeping ahead of Gallagher. Levesque of Spain is swimming a really strong back end, and he looks to be pushing up. He'll secure third, but behind Raimondi and Gallagher. That's a good swim from Raimondi. He needed something solid, and he'll take a 52.93 as he goes sub 53, which will be a good enough time. Sub 53, you're looking at putting yourself into medal contention. Sub 52, you're almost guaranteeing yourself a medal, and Raimondi is a sub 51 swimmer.
Yeah, and here they are off the block. And look at Raimondi. Look at the use of his underwater fly kick here. That is very important for a 100. It's also coming off the wall. He does it again, because the men's S10 100-meter freestyle is very fast. And remember, this is the least impaired classification of anyone. So they need to use all 4 limbs and use whatever advantage they possibly can.
Confirming the results of the first heat of 3. Raimondi ahead of Gallagher, with Levesque claiming third overall. Julie, the S9 swimmer, 57.44 for him. Going in the second heat of 3 in the men's 100-meter freestyle S10. The 26-year-old Jamal Hill of the United States is the only S9 swimmer in the pool here. Man from Inglewood in California. But he will be up against a couple of really challenging swimmers. And among them is the gold medalist. There is Hill, the only S9 swimmer. For him, this is an opportunity to improve on personal bests. The 26-year-old competing in 2 events, the 50 and the 100 free. But it's Isaev, Grigoriev, Kripak, the defending champion, Tucken, Cups and Hill. Now Kripak, this is going to be an intriguing race for him, because he doesn't come in with the fastest seed time, but indeed he comes in with the reputation of being the defending champion. He is a silver medalist from Madeira. He is the gold medalist from Madeira, I should say. He is somebody who has dominated this event largely over the last 5 years. But now there is a genuine challenge to his title in Rowan Crothers, who we'll talk more about in the third heat. But he touches confidently ahead of Grigoriev, nearly a second and a half, and pulling 2 body lengths clear here.
Yeah, and Kripak, he didn't get gold in the 50, and I think he was not that pleased with that finish. So you're going to see him try and make this up in the 100. He went out fast, and typically he has a better back half. He's known for being a back half swimmer, and so, I mean, this 100 right now, he's definitely trying to make a statement.
Oh, yes, and he goes sub 52, a 51.57 swim. That so far we'll see him qualify quickest, and a touch from Bas Tucken, the World Championship silver medalist in the 400. Bas Tucken, he's not really known as a sprinter. He touches second overall, while third is Grigoriev of RPC. Maxim Kripak, to say he wasn't pleased is a very diplomatic approach. He was absolutely fuming that he did not win the 50.
And here he is. He goes out, great streamline heading into the water. He does a slight underwater kick when he pops up. And he took out this first 50 very well. And look at that stroke. He's kicking very hard coming in. And on his way home, he puts his head down. He's not breathing. Up there, he breathes right. But going into the turn, he's not going to be able to breathe tonight if he wants to take the gold. He just dives to that touch pad.
Maxim Kripak confident and, wow, nearly 2.5 seconds ahead of Bas Tucken. Grigoriev touching third fastest. The S9 swimmer Jamal Hill, a man inspired by the great Muhammad Ali, punching above his weight as he swims in the S10 classification, but a 57.70 for the S9 swimmer. Couple of names to look out for in this, in both Felipe Melo Rodriguez and Rowan Crothers. Crothers, the 50-meter gold medalist, finished 5th in Rio in this race. But a man who's undoubtedly had the most memorable winning celebration as he jumped onto his lane rope and subsequently fell off when he beat Maxim Kripak. Absolutely delighted. It's certainly been spoken about. Menciotti, Bartsinski, Crothers, Rodriguez, Ogorzalek and Minai. Minai, the young 18-year-old Japanese swimmer who is in his first event of 2 at Tokyo 2020. Crothers, though, in the middle up against Rodriguez. Now, Rodriguez is somebody who's been a silver medalist in this event twice and a bronze medalist from Rio when he went on to claim his 8th Paralympic Games medal, but he is looking to challenge Crothers in the opening 25, but Crothers pulling away nicely towards the wall.
Yeah, I mean, Crothers, he's got cerebral palsy, so he's got a leg impairment. That means everything he's doing, he's driving with his upper body, though I would not count out Felipe Rodriguez. We saw him in the 50-meter freestyle. He loves the sprint events. You never know what Felipe is capable of in the finals.
It is these two who pull away, Crothers and Rodriguez, but it is going to be Rodriguez coming back strongest, but Crothers will hold on here, and the men's 50 free gold medalist touches first in the heats of the men's 100 free S10. Rodriguez is second, and Ogorzalek with a good swim to touch third fastest overall, managing to hold it in the back. Rowan Crothers, 52.70, relatively sluggish by his standards, but bear in mind he's gone sub 51 this year. Rodriguez, he's around for the 52-second mark consistently, a 53.44 for him in this race.
Yeah, I mean, this third heat, I'd say, was a little bit slow, especially after Maxim Kripak's 51.57 during the other heat. But Rowan Crothers, he did look very good. I do think once you put him next to Maxim Kripak during tonight's final, we're really going to see what both of them are made of, especially Rowan Crothers. He has that wonderful closing speed, but Kripak is also a back half swimmer.
Yeah, we're going to see the proverbial fireworks.
And we may even see Andre Persil's world record challenge tonight. That has not been touched in quite some time.
Yeah, you're right, absolutely. Rowan Crothers, though, qualifies quickest from the third heat as Rodriguez comfortably makes his way through to the final. David Levesque would have been watching the times to see if he snuck into the final. He did not, as Bartsinski just out-touched him time-wise. Ogorzalek sneaks into Bas Tucken. But watch out for Kripak Crothers. That rivalry continues. The silver medalist at the Euros, Stefano Raimondi, as well in with the challenge. And Gallagher looked really good. He's qualified quicker than Rodriguez of Brazil. Top 5, any one of those could easily medal. of the heats for the women's 100-meter freestyle S10. Chantal Zederveld is among the favorites for the gold medal here. She'll be challenged by Bianca Papp, who already finished 7th in the women's 100 breaststroke, but who has gone second fastest in the world this year. But it's difficult to look beyond Chantal Zederveld, already champion in the 100 breast, the silver medalist in the 50 free. It's difficult to look beyond her as a genuine gold medal contender. And maybe, just maybe, we will see world records challenged as well. She's around about the 1 minute mark. A good swim will see her confidently take the record. There is Papp. She's been going really quickly this year. Greenwood of Australia, just 16 years old, is Jasmine. Already a world championship medalist, but in the 100 fly, she finished 5th in the free in London. Cole, Gonta, Greenwood, Zederveld, Papp, and Barrera. Getting away very nicely is the youngster from Australia. Good underwater as well for both Greenwood and Zederveld. Papp is looking strong in 3. But a very impressive opening 25 meters from Barrera as well. Not a great underwater, but stroking very strongly, holding and keeping her own in lane 6.
Yeah, from Australia, Greenwood, she looks great going out in this first 50. Zederveld, we know she's on point this meet. She had a dominant 100-meter breaststroke, smashed the world record. And here she is. She didn't have a great turn. It's Greenwood that's really holding on. So if she can hold on to this lead, the second 50, she's going to position herself very nicely to go up against Arielle Rivard.
Completely. The world record holder Rivard goes in this second heat, but at the moment it is the European champion from Dublin 2018, Zederveld, who is the one that she's wanted to beat in the pool. Zederveld is a very strong finisher and should sneak through the middle, but so impressive the swim from Barrera and Papp as well. Papp is going to touch first, indeed. Just taking the win from Zederveld, and Barrera holding for the entire 100. Somewhat surprisingly, Jasmine Greenwood, who had led virtually from the underwater off the starting blocks right the way to the final 5 meters of this race, does not touch it in the top 3. Now, Zederveld, she has a lot more in a final, but that was a very impressive swim from Barrera of Colombia.
It was, and here, Greenwood, she took off the blocks, and she went out to an early lead, and it's only 2 lengths of the pool. It's 100. So every second counts here, and Greenwood, she goes into the turn first. Zederveld, she was actually pretty behind, and so was Papp, but it was the second 50, and it was really in the last 10 meters of the race that all 3 swimmers here to the right of Greenwood just soared past her, and then Papp and Zederveld, they just put their heads down and they dove right into the finish, and they touched first. 101's decent time for preliminaries. Will definitely get them into the finals, but they're going to have to be quicker tonight.
So Bianca Papp is not unaccustomed to challenging for medals, and indeed she was the Paralympic Games silver medalist in the backstroke, the 100 backstroke in Rio, and indeed a bronze medalist from the 200 IM. But a great swim here as she, Zederveld and Barrera all outswim Greenwood in the final few moments. Anastasia Gontar is a regular medalist. She touched 5th fastest. This is the second heat of 2 in the women's 100-meter freestyle S10. And the world record holder goes in lane 4 for Canada. This is Rivard's race to lose, some would argue. The Paralympic champion leading the way as the world record holder, the reigning world champion from London 2 years ago. She's not had a great Tokyo 2020 so far, has looked less comfortable in the pool than we are used to seeing, but she's also up against Lisa Krieger again. So Pierre goes in 1 for France, Cristino for Mexico in 2, Maluli for Great Britain in 3, Rivard in 4, 5 is Krieger, Skortekini is in lane 6 for Italy, and Olivia Jablonska goes for Poland in lane 6. But Rivard is looking to go out hard, but Lisa Krieger is keeping pace.
Yeah, Rivard, I mean, she did not win the 50 unexpectedly the other night, and so she's going to want to go out hard here and try and maintain that, especially if she wants to take down Papp and Zederveld from that first here. Arielle Rivard, good first 50, 28.78, plus a good underwater here. She's maintaining that lead, but Krieger, she's coming up hard.
So Lisa Krieger, Chantal Zeiderveld and Bianca Papp have all set their personal bests this season. Aurélie Rivard is just reminding everybody that she is the world record holder, and she's putting in a phenomenal swim in the preliminaries. She looks like she's going to take out her own world record. She's not going to leave anything to chance here. She touches first at 58.60 seconds. The world record holder, world champion and defending champion, has improved her own world record here by over half a second. A little reminder that despite the fact that her first race at Tokyo 2020 was suboptimal when she finished in bronze medal position in the women's 50 free, in the 100 free, she remains the world champion and the defending champion. And she lays down the gauntlet spectacularly with a very fast swim, 58.60 seconds.
And Ariel, she got off the blocks spectacularly here. It was like she was just trying to make a statement and remind everyone just how good she is after that 50 swim when she got out-touched by Zeiderveld. And here, coming into the first 50, she had a beautiful turn here. And Krieger, she also had a good turn, but, you know, Ariel Rivard was ahead of her at this point. Both of them used their underwater nicely. And what Rivard did here was she held on to it this second 50, and she didn't let that speed go at all. And just, you know, blazes right into the wall here. This is a great swim by her, 58.6, very fast.
New world record for the Canadian. Takes out her old world record, and she touches ahead of Lisa Krieger and Zara Maluli. Skortekini, I think, with a 102.31 is into the final. So qualifying quickest world record time in the second heat of 2 Rivard, but Papp, Zeiderveld and Krieger have all swum their personal best this season. They want to challenge for medals, but it looks like Rivard's in a class of her own. Skortekini does sneak into the final, and watch out for Jasmine Greenwood. She might cause a bit of an upset in tonight's final. So the heats of the men's 150-meter individual medley, SM4. Among the favorites, going in lane 4 and 5, Amiomir Dadaon, the 20-year-old from Israel. He's a man who would want to have claimed the gold in his favorite event, the IM, but a disqualification led to him not contesting, so a chance for him to, beg your pardon, in the sprints, but in his favorite event now, the 150 IM, a chance to impress. Starting from the opposite side of the pool, Camacho, Ernhofer, Dadaon, Morelli, Sanchez and Longhorn. European champion from Dublin, and a man who at the World Championships finished second in Dadaon of Israel. Is the favorite and immediately out into a lead, the Israeli swimmer. But watch out for Ephraim Morelli as well. He might be 41 years old, but there's a great deal of experience. A man who's a consistent finalist in the IM SM4 classification and a bronze medalist already in the 50 breaststroke in Rio. Although he finished just outside the medals in the 50. This is a very strong swim from Camacho, who's a very strong backstroker. It's whether or not he'll be able to turn things around in the breaststroke and then the free coming home.
Yeah, Dadaon, he looks good. Backstroke is not his best leg. Also, this is the 150 meter individual medley. That means this classification does not swim butterfly. Now, you saw Dadaon go out. Backstroke, he's a decent backstroker, but that's not his best leg, and he moves into the breaststroke. He's much stronger in the breaststroke right now, and you can see him right now. He's just taking this heat.
Well, Dadaon, the second fastest in the event this year, silver medalist from the London Worlds and the Madeira Euros. And he won his only major championship gold event at the Dublin 2018 Euros. Ephraim Morelli of Italy, he's also making a bit of a push now. He's the bronze medalist from this year's European Championships, but he does have a gold to his name from the World Championships in Mexico in 2017. He's fighting back strongest in the breaststroke. It's a really good breaststroke leg from him.
Efrem Morelli, he's got a remarkable breaststroke. His upper body strength is superb. He's actually taking on Dadan right now. He doesn't breathe every stroke, and his wingspan just allows him to pull and catch so much water. He, you know, if he can keep this up for the freestyle, he definitely has a decent chance of getting on the podium tonight.
So into the freestyle. A little bit of struggle at the turn for Morelli, and Dadan is just pulling away. This is going to be Dadan all the way to the wall. Morelli will be second fastest, unless Ernhofer of Austria going in lane 3 has anything to say about it, or indeed Sanchez of Mexico going in lane 6. But this is just extending his advantage, the 20-year-old.
Yeah, and Dadan, he looks great coming home. You know, the freestyle is Dadan's best leg. We know that, even though he had that disqualification the other night. He is, you know, a gold medalist, a world record holder in the 100-meter freestyle. So we knew he was going to be forced to be reckoned with.
A massive force to be reckoned with. 2:33.92 for Dadan, and it's not even close to his best. But there's only possibly 2 swimmers in the world that can go those sort of times. One of them, Cameron Leslie of New Zealand, is not here for personal reasons, and the other is swimming in the second heat. So Dadan ahead of Morelli, and Camacho Ramirez of Mexico does come home in third.
Here they are off the blocks. When Dadan goes into backstroke, this is not his best leg. So what he just has to do is get through this backstroke. You see Camacho Ramirez, he went out for the early lead in that backstroke, but it was in the breaststroke right here where you see Dadan, he took over that lead. Efrem Morelli really had the remarkable breaststroke leg here, but Dadan, he's a solid breaststroker. It's freestyle though, where Dadan made his mark, and he just took control of this race. He really extended that lead.
Former young para-athlete of the year in Israel. He's really matured in the 4 years subsequent. He wins the first heat in the 150 IM SM4 ahead of Morelli, silver medalist from the Euros, and indeed Angel de Jesus Camacho of Mexico, third quickest. Second heat, we'll see Zhdanov going. He is the world record holder, he's the world champion, and Zhdanov is the man to beat. He should be the leader in this race, the fastest man in the world this year. He goes in 4. Luque of Spain has been looking good, and certainly in terms of home hopes for a medal, Suzuki Takayuki is among the best that they have in the pool, and already a gold medalist in the 100 free and a bronze medalist in the 50 breaststroke. He's had a fantastic championship. But Roman Zhdanov, it's going to be tough for anybody to beat Roman Zhdanov. Japan's medal hope, the man who set his best time of the year in Yokohama in May. And he's among the fastest in the world this year, and is having a fantastic championships. 2 medals in 2 events at Tokyo 2020 for Suzuki Takayuki. He might be 34, but although considered past his best by some, he is in his prime, he would argue, when you consider his medal results so far. Very strong in the breaststroke and very strong in the freestyle, maybe not so in the backstroke, but Zhdanov maybe the one to take it. Liu Benying, Vinohradets of Ukraine, Luque of Spain, Zhdanov, Suzuki, Torres, and Emilianov. So straight into his stroke is Vinohradets of Ukraine. He's a good backstroker. Zhdanov as well should take out a reasonable advantage. And Liu Benying, a backstroker as well, will be among the swimmers to watch for the opening 50. But then they turn into the breaststroke, which is where Suzuki will begin to come into his own.
Yeah, Zhdanov, just look at that backstroke right now and how straight his arms are, how still his leg, his head is. I mean, you could balance a quarter there. His arm entry, it's very clean. He's minimizing drag. He's got clean water now on either side of him. He looks like he could go in the backstroke for like a 200.
He's definitely got some power about him, but a turn here and then into the breaststroke leg. So 3 lengths of the pool in the men's 150 individual medley in this classification SM4. The swimmers do not swim butterfly, but they do begin with the backstroke and then into the butterfly leg and then freestyle to come home. And this is where Suzuki is already starting to pull up on all of those who were ahead of him in the pool. The Japanese swimmer, he takes a good 3 strokes before coming out to breathe, sometimes 2, but he's holding on to his lead is Zhdanov, and he will not relinquish any lead he has with the free.
Yeah, I mean, Zhdanov, he's not using his legs at all. He's entirely on his arms. That means that he needs to maximize every stroke and try to increase his stroke rate, which he's doing right now by not breathing. Every stroke, he's going very wide and trying to catch as much water as he can as he heads into the 50. It's going to be hard for him when he turns to the 50 freestyle, though. He needs to keep up, even though he's going to be a little bit tight on his arms, but he's doing that right now. He's got a very solid, very deliberate stroke. He can kind of put it on cruise control at this point.
He does indeed. It's also poignant to note here that the 44-year-old Spaniard, Miguel Luque, is probably, he's gone the fastest in the breaststroke over that leg, the silver medalist in the 50 breaststroke SB3 classification. He has had a fantastic swim, and he's got himself alone in second. Suzuki is positioned in third at the touch, but the man in front is not going to relinquish any advantage to anybody in the pool. And Roman Zhdanov is going to lead the way to the wall and possibly lead the way to the gold medal come the final of this event. He's outside world and Paralympic record time, but only needed to do enough to qualify quickest. And a 2:29.83. He will take that, as the opening heat was a 2:33 swim. He will have the middle lane for the final. Zhdanov touches as Suzuki comes home to touch second, and Luque not holding on to that second position after a phenomenal 50 breast leg. Vinohradets of Ukraine touches 4th, and 5th to the wall, Torres of Spain. Zhdanov just reminding anybody who might be wanting to challenge him, including Dadon, that he is still the man to beat.
And here, Zhdanov is off. He uses both arms right off the start, but then goes into that very clean, very straight 50-meter backstroke right here. Head is perfectly balanced, and look how much water he catches with his backstroke and every stroke. It's his use of the underwater. Then a very strong breaststroker. He doesn't have the height, but instead what he does is he really powers his way underwater. He catches, he grabs, and he doesn't breathe every stroke, keeps his head above the water, and then he comes into the freestyle. I actually think he kind of shut it down in the freestyle. I think he's got a lot left more for tonight. His world record is 2:22, and he went 2:29, so 7 seconds off. He will be faster tonight, I suspect.
He'll be far faster. Roman Zhdanov finds himself qualifying quickest from the second heat of the men's 150 individual medley. Suzuki, the Japanese home hopeful, and Miguel Luque, second and third fastest overall. But through to the final, Vinohradets should be comfortably in for Ukrainian. Does qualify as 5th fastest overall, but Roman Zhdanov and Amiomar Dadon could renew a rivalry here. They've both got plenty left. Suzuki will be wanting that medal, a 3rd medal in 3 events at these games, his home games, despite being 34. Now to the heats of the women's 150-meter individual medley, SM4.
This is the women's 150 meters individual medley SM4 heats.
女子150メートル個人メドレー SM4 予選。
So Ariella Trimi, she might be a SM3 swimmer, but she is very quick. She's sub 3 minutes over the women's 150-meter individual medley SM4, and this is a class in which she has really looked to dominate in the SM3 classification. Leanne Smith of the United States, who will go later in the heats, is also in the SM3 classification, but a combined swim for SM3 and SM4s. This is going to be a challenge for the SM3 swimmers to A, get themselves into the final, and then B, to contest from there. But Trimmy has already picked up a relay silver medal in the 4x50 mixed relay, but she's up against Buthe of Germany. Second of 5 events, Buthe. Just outside the medals at the World Championships, and going in lane 2 for RPC Shuhorova. Kat Swanepoel of South Africa goes in 6, and another SM3 swimmer in Canada's Nikita Entz going in 7. So Liu, Shuhorova, Trimmy, Buthe, Swanepoel and Entz. A few of the swimmers requiring assistance just to be kept in contact with the wall until the start. And Kat Swanepoel here is getting off to a really good start in the backstroke. A very good backstroker is the South African, so she'll be looking to make some advantage count here. She's only in 2 events, in the 150 IM, but also in the women's 50-meter backstroke S4. The occupational therapist, who's based out of the University of Pretoria's High Performance Center in South Africa, but also swimming at the Mandeville Para Swimming Club. But it's the RPC swimmer is among those to look out for. Liu Yu of China, though, is leading the way, going in lane 2. I haven't seen too much of the 32-year-old in the build-up to these games. He's been representing the People's Republic of China since 2014.
And here, Lou, she's starting to take it on the breaststroke. She's actually having a great breaststroke leg. What you see with these swimmers in this classification, many of whom have lower leg impairments, is they're entirely on their arms. This means that they're doing basically a scull. They're doing a breaststroke pull, and they're not breathing every stroke, and that allows them to increase their arm speed. It's very hard for them, though, at the end of that 50 because their arms start to tighten up, and so then they transition into the freestyle, and you have to get yourself out of that tightness to extend yourself and go into that long freestyle leg.
So Liu Yu is surprising all with her incredible performance here. She's just streaking away. Bear in mind, she's an SM4 swimmer. She's up against a handful of SM3 swimmers in Shuhorova and Trimmy in particular, but it is impressive nonetheless from the Chinese swimmer who gets into the final stroke now, the freestyle, to bring it home. This is a very impressive time from Liu Yu, whose entry time is going to be absolutely obliterated, and this is right up there with the very best times we've ever seen in the IM.
Yeah, I mean, Lou, she's over 25 meters ahead of anyone else. She's having a phenomenal swim. She's just basically coming out of nowhere, but right now, the race is really for second and third.
Yeah, and Ariella Trimmy is going to be challenging for the second place here. Shuhorova, she's just managed to pass her, but this is going to be a world record at this pace. She is coming in, Liu Yu, a seed time of 4 minutes 2, but she's come home in world record time in the women's 150-meter individual medley. We hadn't seen too much of her, but she is showing everyone just how quick she is, breaking the world record by nearly 2 seconds in the SM4 classification. What a swim from Liu. Trimmy is going to come home second, the Italian, the SM3 swimmer. And just outside among her best. So this is a magnificent swim from Liu. Really good across all 3 legs. Went down in 45 over the opening 50 with the backstroke. She then put in a very solid time with the breaststroke, just outside 1 minute, and then coming home in world record time. And she dipped just below 50 seconds in the free. Nikita Entz of Canada the 32-year-old S3 swimmer who is involved in 3 events. She's twice qualified for finals at the World Championships, and that in the backstroke and freestyle. I think much more a sprinter, but this is a big swim for the Canadian who served as a lifeguard before her injury. Coming home in her first Paralympic Games, in her first event. So 2:39.39. Monica Boccioni's 2:41 is no longer a world record. Massive PB as well. Cheng Zhao swam a 24:57 to win at the Paralympic Games in Rio.
I mean, here they go right off into the backstroke, and you see Lu, she goes out into that early lead. She came out of nowhere, though. I mean, no one was expecting. She came from the outside lane. That's great. So that means she has clean water right off the bat in that backstroke. She comes into the breaststroke, and you see her head, it gets very close. For these breaststroke swimmers, when they don't breathe every stroke, it's very hard to keep their head above the water, but it has to clear every single stroke to prevent them from being DQ'd. Then she goes into the freestyle here. I mean, that was an amazing swim, 2:39. She shattered the world record. She came from nowhere.
So if paper is to be believed, she's improved on her personal best by almost a minute and a half. Clearly, that is not the case. And a world record for Liu Yu. But Ariola Trimi second, the SM3 swimmer. Butcher finishes third fastest. And Kat Swanepoel of South Africa, 3:21.19. Will be hoping to sneak into the final. A good Paralympic debut for Nikita Ence. That'll just be a good settler for the resident of Saskatoon.
Following the decision of the jury, the reswim was ordered for the final of the women's 50 meters freestyle S11 event 38. This will now take place on Sunday, the 29th of August, B5 in the finals session. The race will begin at 19:18 with the victory ceremony at 20:19. All teams involved have been informed.
To the second heat of 3 we go.
Heat 2.
The women's 150-meter individual medley, SM2. Going in lane 4 is Natalia Budkova, 30-year-old from Volgograd, representing RPC. Volgograd, most famous for being Stalingrad during the Second World War. And one of the most impressive of all war stories, but battle here in the pool is going to be between the likes of Natalia Budkova, a world championship medalist and European champion in Funchal just a few months ago, and Susanna Schnondorf of Brazil. Sorry, Kaviduina, Miranda, Budkova, Schnondorf, Safonova, and Guirenko of Israel, S3 swimmer. The remainder are all SM4. The assistants just making sure that the athletes are touching the wall. So a call of relax. Gavinolina just shaking off the hands. So a few assistants required. There are the assistants who do need to make sure that their athletes are up against the wall for the start. No assistance required other than to simply keep the athletes up against the wall for the starts. Getting underway in this women's 150-meter individual medley, SM4, second heat of 3. Natalia Budkova is the swimmer to catch. She's been going sub 3 minutes already this year. And only Schnarndorf, who's gone a 3:05, should be able to keep up. And true to form, Budkova is taking out a rather decent lead already, although Miranda of Mexico, a backstroker, is looking to keep pace and is within half a body length through 25 meters.
Yeah, Budkova, her backstroke looks nice there. She's using that, you know, the typical standard windmill stroke, but you do see over there in lane 6 right now from Safonova, she's using the double arm backstroke. Sometimes swimmers in the lower classification do that because it creates more balance, and when they can't kick and they need to use their arms like this to create more balance and really to maximize their underwater pull right now. And here they are going into the turn into the breaststroke.
So that a really good swim from Miranda in particular, the 49-year-old Mexican. Bear in mind, you need to go all the way back to when you were competing in Beijing to when she was winning at Paralympic Games, but she is a multiple world champion, a multiple Paralympic Games champion, who famously won the 50 and 100 free double in the S4 classification in Beijing. It's her breaststroke that might let her down, but she had a really good backstroke, and she's going to come home fast in the free, you imagine. But up against her is Budkova, and Schnarndorf with her breaststroke so impressive. The underwater gives you an opportunity to see how much ground she's making up on the swimmers on her inside. Budkova, though, is still leading, heading up to the 100 mark.
Yeah, right now, and it's really the use of her legs right now that's allowed her to make up so much ground. As the arms start to get tight and tired towards the end of the 50, your legs, you can rely on them to kind of kick in here in the breaststroke.
And somebody who studied physical education and sports studies throughout the Volgograd State Academy of Physical Education in Russia is the leader. She would understand what her body is going through at any given point in this race. She's strong in the free, but so too is Schnarndorf of Brazil. But it looks like Budkova has done enough to put herself in front and to not be caught.
Yeah, but Schnarndorf right now coming home. Well, she started off that freestyle leg, and she does have the faster stroke rate. I thought she was going to really try and make a surge against Budkova, but right now Budkova, I think she's just too strong.
Budkova is looking very strong, slightly higher tempo, but very effective. Big right arm pull for Budkova. And Miranda Herrera at 49, one of the Mexican legends of the pool, is coming home in 3rd. So should be a comfortable qualification for the final for Budkova, for Schnarndorf as well. A 2:57.40 for Budkova. She's come home quicker over 150 meters than any other swimmer in the pool, bar Liu Yu, who won the opening heat. But that'll be a successful place in the final without doubt. But she might very well be swimming for 3rd come the end of it. Still 3 swimmers waiting to come to the wall. Safonova of Ukraine. Zulfia Gabuduyina of Argentina is 55, and again one of the greats. She managed to claim a somewhat surprise victory, did Gabuduyina, is coming home now. In the 100 freestyle S3 classification in Rio, where she shocked all to claim gold. Just had one of those days where she seemed peerless in the pool. And the 23-year-old Israeli at her 2nd Paralympic Games got some experience as a teenager in Rio when she swam in the 50 back and the 100 free. Her first time in the individual medley at the Paralympic Games, although did swim at the Mexico World Championships in Mexico City in 2017. She made the final and came in 4:55. And she is coming to the wall now, looking for times as she represents her country. She swims at 4:32 to improve on her seed time. No doubt about the victor, though, Natalia Budkova, 2:57.40. Top spot from the 2nd heat and 2nd fastest overall.
Here they go out right into that backstroke. You know, Schnarndorf, she took up the backstroke early on, she was out pretty nicely, but then Budkova, she started to take it, and here she is. She does keep her head very still. Her arms, they go out wide, but she does catch quite a bit of water underneath. The breaststroke for her, it's not her strongest stroke. You see that head, it gets very close at times. And actually, there, okay, so she does break it here. It's hard to keep that head above the water, and freestyle is where she takes back the lead, really, or she extends it from Starndorf, who really made a run for her in the breaststroke.
Solid swim, putting together all the strokes at the right time, and knows what she's capable of doing. There's still plenty left there for Natalia Budkova, who claims the second heat of 3 ahead of Brazil's Starndorf and the legend that is Nelly Miranda at 49, approaching her 50th birthday, 3rd overall with a 3:11.92. Still competitive. So the third and final heat of the women's 150 IM SM4 sees Leanne Smith of the United States. She is, you'd have to say, the favorite for the gold coming into this on paper. But Liu Yu might have something to say about it. Joe, Fernandez, Smith, Verbova, Cunnington and Mitsova. Fernandez, a strong SM4 swimmer. And she's already proved just how capable she is as this S4 claiming a 50 fly silver medal against S5s. But she goes alongside Smith in the pool, and Leanne Smith, the fastest seed time by some way coming into this tournament. She is the reigning world champion. She picked up 3 gold medals at the World Championships in London. Leanne Smith, the 33-year-old from the United States. She will go in lane 4. Now, going in lane 5, Marina Verbova is looking really good with the opening backstroke, going with a double arm backstroke, but looking good too. In lane 3 is Fernandez. Leanne Smith should come into her stroke in the breast and then into the free.
And right now, Joe, she had a remarkable backstroke leg. That's the second Chinese swimmer that really surprised us in this event. But now going into the breaststroke, you have Verbova. Verbova is an excellent breaststroker, so we are going to see her start to make up some time if she can. She's not breathing every stroke. Joe, though, she does look very strong. Joe, she has a very fast turnover. Oh, she did a slight peek to the left to see where she was. And then right now, Leanne Smith, who, you know, if you had asked me before I saw anybody swim, I would have said that Leanne Smith may actually have this in the bag, but you never really know what happens during preliminaries.
You certainly don't, and what we're seeing is a big change up here. Zhou Yanfei of China is going out quickest. She had a really great freestyle leg as part of China's victorious 4x50 meter mixed freestyle relay.
And one thing Joe is doing in her breaststroke right now is that she's using her arms to almost generate a fly kick from the back, which allows her, it gives her a little bit of an extra push to drive forward in the breaststroke where she doesn't really have use of her legs. And here she's now into the freestyle, very fast stroke rate and turnover. She looks strong coming home into the freestyle. It's almost, you wonder maybe she's going to try and challenge Liu.
Yeah, she is looking very strong, is Zhou Yanfei, the younger sister of Zhou Ying, who was a swimmer for China at various world championships and indeed a bronze medalist at the world championships in Eindhoven in Netherlands. Keeping it in the family here is the 30-year-old now as she represents China for the first time, but well ahead of anybody else in the pool. Nowhere near Liu Yu's new world record that's been set, but good 15 meters ahead of anybody else in the pool. And she will touch first ahead of Fernandez, who is coming home strong in the freestyle as expected. Leanne Smith is only swimming for third at the moment, up against Marina Verbova. Tammy Cunnington just getting left behind, she and Mitskova a little. But that's a good swim from Fernandez again. But Leanne Smith, SM3, comes home third quickest. Solid swim from Cho Yun-fei. With she and her sister struggling with impaired muscle power. This is the Czech swimmer Dominika Mitskova, 25-year-old, who is in 3 events at Tokyo 2020. She made the breaststroke final, I think it was, in the World Championships in London, although failed to medal. 25 meters to go for the swimmer from Brno, famous for its incredible racetrack in Brno, which largely MotoGP bikes have been famous for going around. In the Czech Republic, Czech Grand Prix, always one of the most entertaining of all in the world of motorsports, but certainly in the pool here. Breaststroke is undoubtedly her best stroke, as she did manage to medal at the European Championships previously in Dublin as well. And a big wave from Dominika Mitskova from Czech Republic. In the individual medley, she is a little quicker than what she might be exhibiting in the pool here, but she is going to come home now. Mitskova touching well outside her best. Cho Yun-fei, People's Republic of China, with the victory from lane 2 in the third heat of 3.
Here they are coming off the start. Really, she takes out that early lead in the backstroke. You see the use of double arm backstroke right in the middle of the pool, but Jo is using the single arm backstroke, which it's faster because it does allow you to increase your turnover and introduces the shoulder roll. The double arm backstroke is more for generating stability. Now she goes into the breaststroke. And what she does is you see her kind of bopping up along the top of the pool, and her breaststroke generates a bit of a fly kick. And then the freestyle, just a very fast turnover, and she kind of pounds her way into the touchpad.
予選3組の公式記録が表示されています。
Women's 150-meter individual medley, SM4. Cho Yun-fei will qualify among the fastest. Marta Fernandez looking for another medal, qualifying second fastest. And SM3 swimmer Leanne Smith finds herself touching third. And she is a sub-3-minute swimmer. Might be a dark horse for the final, so to speak. Ola Trimi is successfully into the final, so too Marina Verbova. But Butkova, winner of the second heat, is the third swimmer under 3, behind the 2 Chinese swimmers.
Yeah, I think the Chinese swimmers, they had great swims this morning. Leanne Smith, I agree, though. She could challenge for third. She's been 2:56 before, so she needs to be on her time if she wants to get on the podium tonight, which would be remarkable, given that she's a class below the others.
Men's 150-meter individual medley, SM3 now. In the men's classification, there is no combined class, although it does give SM1 swimmer Iyad Shalabi and Alexei Tale, who will go in the second heat, an opportunity to swim in this classification. Grant Patterson going for Australia alongside compatriot Ahmed Kelly in lane 4. Dvorsky, Topf, Kelly, Patterson, Kostakis and Shalabi. Different techniques to start this race. And a great underwater from Ahmed Kelly, but he's got a traditionally strong start. So too, Topf of Germany. Topf of Germany, no arms, but wonderful propulsion through the water with the the great leg power that he generates. A wonderful hip movement as well for the German swimmer.
Yeah, Ahmed Kelly, he's not traditionally a great backstroker, but you did see him get off to a start. He pretty much did a breaststroke underwater kick as part of that backstroke start, but none of them can keep pace with the German here, who's doing a fly kick on his back. He's kicking his way along, but that does mean that when he turns into the breaststroke, his legs, they're gonna start to tire out a little bit, and that's where I do think you're gonna see Ahmed Kelly start to make his move. The breaststroke is his strongest leg.
And he will be among the swimmers to watch come the final as well. There's Ahmed Kelly. He's comfortably under 3 minutes. And he will be going for a little improvement. Patterson is just starting to fade in comparison to Ahmed Kelly, who's coming back so strong. Topf is still leading the way, but not for very much longer, as he's been caught by Patterson and notably Ahmed Kelly. So Patterson is just going beyond him now. Ahmed Kelly, these two SM3 classification swimmers.
Yeah, Ahmed Kelly, he looks good right now, that breaststroke. He generates a lot of force, and he's higher than the other swimmers, and it's allowing him to really move up against Grant Patterson. The problem that Ahmed Kelly's going to face, though, is that he's not as strong in the freestyle leg. So what he typically needs to do is get out as far ahead on the breaststroke as possible, but Grant Patterson is making that quite difficult for him right now.
He is a man who sports usually a very large beard, but he's shaved the beard. He's only got the moustache left, is Grant Patterson, but the 32-year-old, in all seriousness, 6th in London in 2012. He's been swimming this event for a long time and a former medalist at the World Championships. As far back as Montreal, he was winning the World Championships, winning medals at the World Championships. Don't think he's ever won it, but certainly has made the podium on no fewer than 3 occasions. Certainly Montreal at second place, that he followed up with the second place in Glasgow. But watch Ahmed Kelly as he comes home in... looks to be swimming freestyle, but he's swimming the butterfly stroke. So bear in mind, the front crawl is the most common stroke in the freestyle, but you can swim any stroke. You are free to swim any open stroke for this final leg. Patterson and Kelly side by side coming home, the two Australians. Topf has faded somewhat, while a little further back in the pool, Kostakis and Shalabi are having a little battle between themselves. Kostakis should pull away, but the battle is right at the front. Patterson looking to hold on here against Ahmed Kelly. They are neck and neck. It should be Patterson who touches just ahead of his compatriot, as Australia have a 1-2 in the first heat of 2 in the men's 150 IM SM13. It will be Topf of Germany to bring it home, 3rd quickest overall. Good swim from Patterson. And from Cairns in Australia, some exhausted swimmers at the pool. Little chat between the Australians, Patterson and Kelly. This will be Kostakis, who's shown how strong he is in the freestyle, coming back. He and Shalabi had a little bit of a battle developing in the breaststroke. Yuri Dvorsky for Ukraine goes in lane 2. Another one of the swimmers who have previously swam at the World Championships but never at the Paralympic Games. A man who's only been training since 2015 to participate as a para swimmer comes home now, the Ukrainian, at his first games. And Iyad Shalabi is in the pool, an SM1 swimmer. He won the 100-meter backstroke gold medal, a champion of the Paralympic Games. It was his first gold after making a host of finals in the S2 classification and just missing out on medals in Beijing and London previously, and also swam in a couple of finals in Rio. But at his first final of these games, he came home first in the men's 100 back, but now will touch 6th in the men's first heat of the 150 individual medley for SM3. And applause for the SM1 swimmer by the winner of the SM3 heat, 1 of 2.
And here they are off the start. You see Grant Patterson and Ahmed Kelly immediately going out together. Ahmed Kelly's got the advantage off the start. He does that, basically a breaststroke kick on his back. I mean, both Grant Patterson and Ahmed Kelly, they're so smart in the way that they swim these races, because in every stroke, they basically do everything they can to maximize what they do have. And so Grant Patterson, you see those very quick strokes, even though the right arm is only getting out of the water, the left arm is still working. And Ahmed Kelly, he continues to use that breaststroke kick whenever he can. Both of them, you know, very strong. Grant Patterson had a good swim. Ahmed Kelly was a ways off his time. I do think from Ahmed Kelly, you're going to see him go quite a bit faster tonight.
So Grant Patterson is first out of the pool, but I can tell you we've seen a world record. Chalabi's time has seen the world record of 4:57.72 fall. There he is, the world record holder. Now, 4:57.72 in the S1 classification. He has gone 5 seconds quicker, effectively. 4:52.88 for Iyad Chalabi. What an achievement for the backstroke gold medalist. But Grant Patterson ahead of Ahmed Kelly and Josiah Topf of Germany in the SM3 150 IM. Now the second heat of 2. Now this pits a handful of legendary Mexican swimmers against one another, but right in the center is a multiple world champion and the reigning world champion in this event, Diego Lopez from Jalapa. Both his parents were into physical education. Both his parents enjoyed sport. It was only natural that he would be involved in sport. And a man who's been awarded a host of national honors after his successes at the 2019 World Championships, which included gold in this event. Lopez goes in 4 as the favorite. Talay, Kauski, Castoreña, Lopez Hernandez, Marigliano and El Sayed of Egypt. Technical officials just double-checking that the assistants are doing nothing more than keeping the competitors against the wall. So getting the start going. This is Diego Lopez's race to lose, some might argue. He's strong in the backstroke and he's gotten off to a promising start here, has Diego Lopez. But he is not being allowed to escape. And staying with him is the 29-year-old Jesus Hernandez.
Yeah, Diego Lopez, he looks very good. He's very straight right now, but Hernandez, he's gonna actually beat him during this first 50. Even though his stroke's a little bit wider, he appears to be catching more water underneath, which is helping him to really take over from Lopez during this first 50 as they head into the breaststroke.
So Lopez will really make up ground in the breaststroke and then in the free, but Hernandez, bear in mind, has already been an individual backstroke medalist. In Rio, he picked up bronze, and he's also picked up world championship medals in the event. While he made the final in London, he finished well outside the 3-minute mark and missed out on the medals, finishing down on the field, did Hernandez, as he will perhaps begin to fade. But here in the middle, Diego Lopez is starting to make up ground now as the Mexican swimmer pushes for a little bit of a comeback against his compatriot. He's a very strong freestyler, and that should come to prominence in the final 50 meters of this race. For the man who swims for Veracruz State from Jalapa, looking third at the moment is a little bit of a battle between Kausri of Thailand, Castoreña of Mexico, and from Italy, Marigliano.
And right now, Hernandez, he's looking great in the breaststroke. I wouldn't have said this is his best length right now, especially as he heads into the freestyle, but he does look strong and he has appeared to extend his lead. His stroke, it's not that quick, but it's still strong as he heads into the wall. And here coming off, he doesn't get any push, so he has to go right into that freestyle. And what he's doing is he's using that one arm to and he needs to catch as much water as he can to propel himself forward and fight off the onslaught of folks who are coming up at the end.
So this is really Mexico's race, but also take note of a couple of the other swimmers in the pool, including the Thai swimmer in Chakorn Kausri. He'll turn 48 next week. Somebody who's a designer, who's a mouth and foot artist. He's represented Thailand since 1999 and is looking to come home here, but he's at the moment lying 5th. But out in front, it is Mexico 1, 2, 3, as you would expect, and it's heading back to the front of the pool. It's Lopez, the world champion, and alongside him Hernandez, who are the two quickest. The world champion is just completely taken his foot off the pedal here. Hernandez is going to come home to touch first. And Castorena will pop up next to him. Castorena, twice a Paralympic Games gold medalist in the breaststroke. After a really solid breaststroke leg, touches third fastest. So Mexico up front, 1, 2, 3, fourth fastest. Overall was Marigliano of Italy, a 3:29.51. So the times are well outside the PBs for the individuals. The man from Buriram in Thailand, 48 next week, manages to touch 5th fastest overall in a 3:47.52. Yusuf Al Sayed of Egypt. There is the Thai swimmer. But Yusuf Al Sayed of Egypt is next to come home, the 24-year-old from Cairo. The only African city with a subway system, among the two largest on the continent. Cairo and Lagos of Nigeria, the two largest cities by population. And as he makes his way to the wall, one swimmer who remains in the pool is Alexei Talay, the 38-year-old. Is an SM1 swimmer. He's just seen the SM1 classification world record go. He finished 7th in the 100 backstroke behind Shalabi, who eventually claimed the gold medal in that race. And a man who is a good breaststroker. He's swum in the SB2 classification in breaststroke over the years and has qualified for finals at both the European Championships and the World Championships, now based in Minsk, the Belarusian capital. He comes to the wall now in 5:06.04. Outside his best, but another event at the Paralympic Games is behind him. Hernandez with the victory in the heat, but Diaz has still got much to show. Diaz Lopez.
And right off the start, you just see the different methods that the various swimmers employ to get off the block. Some use assistance, some start in the water, some use a device in the water, anything they can do to get themselves out and go right into that backstroke right here. And you see in the breaststroke, Hernandez, he tries to maximize his underwater and try and catch as much as he possibly can. You know, going into the freestyle for tonight, Hernandez, he looked good right here, but Lopez is traditionally a much stronger freestyler. And the second heat, 3:13, it was quite a bit slower than the first heat where Patterson and Kelly went 3:06. So I think these swimmers have a lot more in the tank for tonight's final.
Well, it's a birthday to come for that man, hailing from Buriram. Oh, he's been disqualified, it seems. And for Mexico, it's success in the pool with the top 3 in the heat. And it's about advancing to the final. Yusuf Al Sayed, the African representation from Egypt, finishes 5th. But will not qualify for the final. All 3 Mexicans are into the final, but it is 2 Australians who lead the way. Any of those top 6 could go sub 3. Kostakis qualifying with the 8th fastest time. To the heats now of the men's 100-meter backstroke S11. That is the 35-year-old Smirnov Now, he was meant to be starting in the men's 400 freestyle, but he scratched from that. This is a man who is a 6-time Paralympic Games champion. And in the 100 backstroke, a winner as far back as Athens in 2004. Blackened goggles required for the swimmers. Iceland's Mar Gunnarsson also going the backstroke World Championship medalist. He picked up bronze. Going in lane 6, Miroslav Smirecka at 57, the oldest in the pool here. So Young, Benenses, Smirnov, Gunnarsson and Smirecka, the 5 swimmers who are looking to post times that'll see them qualify for the final of the men's 100-meter backstroke S11. It's a good-looking lead here from Mar Gunnarsson in the early stages, the Icelandic swimmer, but once Young is into his stroke, he is showing his quality in the pool and looks to be moving up in lane 2. So too Menezes, looking decent for Portugal, going in lane 3. Smirnov at the moment is not in the reckoning.
No, and these swimmers, you know, because they have to count their strokes. They use a tapper at the end. They can't see the flags. They also can't see the 15-meter mark to see how far they can stay underwater after each turn. But right now, I mean, the swimmers, they're very bunched together, these top 4. So it could really be anybody's race as they head into this final 25 meters.
Well, Young Bozun is extending his advantage here. The number of swimmers he has inspired down the years from the People's Republic of China, a man with over a dozen Paralympic Games medals and 5 Paralympic Games golds, finds himself at the wall first in this heat. Gunnarsson with a good swim. But Young Bozun, he immediately hit the lane rope down the left and seemed to stick along that lane rope the entire way as he made up ground towards the wall. And Young Bozun closing out the win here. A man who has been called Little Phelps for the back half of his career. In reference to the great Michael Phelps, the most successful Olympian of all time. 28 medals, 23 of which gold.
Yeah, and Young Bozun, I mean, we mentioned hugging that lane line. One thing that these swimmers do is they do try, instead of, because they can't see the black line, they can't see the light at the top, they try and stay and hover close to the lane line without actually going into it, because hugging the lane line allows them to the maximum extent possible to stay straight, because otherwise they have no idea where they are within the lane.
Smirnov, somewhat surprisingly, a 1:11.69, just struggled a bit in the pool. The officials just confirming that the goggles are completely blacked out for the swimmers, most of whom have completely lost sight, or their sight, but some of whom who do have limited vision. Young Bozun, a man who's also a musician. He wrote one of the official songs for the Paralympic Games in Beijing in 2008. When he last won gold in this event, he finds himself qualifying quickest. For Heat 2 of the men's 100-meter backstroke S11 finals, we've got the likes of Roger Dorsman and Mikhailo Serbin going into a battle for potentially the gold medal when it comes down to it, but nobody is as fast as this man in the pool right now. Roger Dorsman, the 100-meter backstroke silver medalist from London, but the only swimmer to go sub 109 this past year. So Serbin, incidentally, the last to get into the pool. Kabraha, Makovsky, Dorsman, Serbin, Achukov and Drag. Przemysław Drag of Poland going in lane 7, closest to your screen. Cabral of Canada going in lane 2, got off to a really good start. So too did Dorsman off the wall. As he breaks water, he's in front. But Archihov of Ukraine is going really well in lane 6. But now just veering slightly towards the lane rope and losing a little bit of ground. It's a very good recovery here from Serbin, who is making up some real ground on Dorsman, who is starting to zigzag in the lane, but is great off the wall and off the start. This is a good lane being built up here by Archihov of Ukraine.
And coming off the wall, Dorsman, he does typically have good turns, and he went out nicely, but then he did start to zigzag a little bit. And you see as well, both lanes 4 and 6 kind of, they veered, and now they're trying to stay and hug that lane without actually going into it.
So it's not something that happens too often, but every so often swimmers can go out of their lanes. They are not necessarily disqualified unless they impact the performance of another swimmer. Dorsman looks like he's going to hold on for the victory here as he glides to the wall and finishes just ahead of Serbin. Mayakovsky finishes 3rd quickest, Archihov finishing 4th. Just a bit of a problem with the wall, as Serbin's time not registered. But that'll be ratified shortly. A 1:10.51, a 1:08 swimmer at his best, and the fastest in the world this year. Dorsman taking it fairly comfortably. Mikhailo Serbin was 2nd fastest. And look at the start in the underwater by the Dutch swimmer.
Yeah, Dorsman, he had the best off the water swim. He used that fly kick. There he is. He veered into the lane line coming down this first 50. And it kind of took him a while to get comfortable and to start to head into the straight line. And here's the tap. He does have a good turn. He does make the most of the underwater. One thing to note is that the timing of the tap does need to be on point, because if it's even just the slightest bit off, you know, they can miss the wall, which causes them to lose speed. Here he is running into the lane line again, but then coming into this last 25 meters, it's like he finally found his place in the lane and could settle in.
In the end, just gliding to the wall, swimming his race. He'll be hearing a few initial takes on how he performed in this second heat of 2 in the men's 100 backstroke. He swim from Mihailo Serbin. We have a time registered now. 1:11.14 is what's been given to Serbin, who touched behind the 1:10.51 of Dorsman. Mayakovsky 3rd quickest overall of Poland, with their respective technical team officials. Cabral of Canada there having his goggles checked. Confirming the results, Dorsman ahead of Serbin. Mayakovsky finishing 3rd quickest.
This is the women's 100-meter backstroke S11 heats.
So the fastest times between Young and Dorsman, they are both swimmers who can go 1:08. Young has not done that sort of time in a while, however. Gunnarsson is definitely going to be a contender. So too Mihailo Serbin. Menezes outside shot with Smirnov, one of the legends of this event.
Yeah, I mean, Yang, that was a surprise from Heat 1, but Dorsman, if he gets the event a little bit tighter, he stays a little bit straighter, he shouldn't have a problem taking down Yang.
For the first heat of the women's 100-meter backstroke S11. Two heats to go. New Zealand's Mary Fisher, a Paralympic record holder. Well, the world record held by Wang Xinyi, who will go in the second heat of 2. Chkachuk of Ukraine goes in 4. Wonderful wind up at the wall, but a good start from Tsai Liwen of China going alongside her in lane 5. Is Alcázar of Mexico, 100-meter freestyle S11 champion at the 27 World Championships. looking to swim in, among her other strokes. She'll be celebrating her 26th birthday next week. But it is Chikachuk and Tsai Li Wen who will be the swimmers to watch in this. And Tsai Li Wen going out really hard in the opening 50.
Yeah, Tsai Li Wen, she had an amazing start, maximized that underwater. Here she is heading into the turn. It's going to be important to hit it. She does a little bit close, but then comes right into that backstroke. She popped up a little bit early too. But what she's doing right now is that she's hovering out on the lane. She's looking very straight right now, so if she can keep up this pace and keep up her place within the lane without veering too far to the left or starting to zigzag, she is going to be very fast for tonight's final.
So Tsai Li Wen is going really strong and really fast and holding on to an advantage. She's been caught ever so slowly by Anastasia Shevchenko, who does not have enough room to make up. Karpova is also producing a fine swim in lane 3, and all three look to be out-touching Chikachuk, who is among the favorites to win the gold medal here. Tsai Li Wen with a confident win ahead of Shevchenko, with Polikarpova finishing third fastest overall. The 22-year-old, already a bronze medalist in the women's 400 free. 1:18.16. That's only 2 seconds off the world record, and a really strong time for a preliminary.
Yeah, here she is. Look at this start. She really is able to maximize the use of her underwater, and she pops up way ahead of anyone else. She's got this beautiful stroke with the pinkies entering in first, minimizing splash, minimizing drag. She comes in here, timing of the turn, she's a little close to the wall. You see the knees actually broke the surface there, and she pops up pretty early. And then she comes in, she's very straight. She's right in the middle of the pool. She doesn't start to veer really until the last 10 meters of the swim, which is when she starts to get over. Here she is going right into the lane line, but she crashes a little bit, but she doesn't continue to crash. Instead, she uses it, she hugs it, and allows her to stay right next to the lane. Timing of the finish was a little off. She crashed into the wall at the end, but a very, very good swim for her, 1:18.16. It's a fast time for preliminaries.
Very fast time for preliminaries indeed.
You know, one thing about these swimmers is that they can't really afford to just look to the left, look to the right, and then put it on cruise control, because they have no idea where they are and how the other swimmers are doing in the field. So you often see from this classification strong swims both during prelims and finals.
Tsai Li Wen takes out Shevchenko for top spot, with Chuk, the Ukrainian, who has been posting 1:19s, 1:18s this year, finishing fourth fastest. Second heat of 2 in the women's 100-meter backstroke S11 classification, and the world record holder will go in lane 4, Wang Qinyi. Also look out for the 28-year-old Li Guixi, the world record holder. Wang Qinyi, very fast already in 2021. But her fastest is the world record, a 1:16.40 set at the World Championships in London, on her way to winning gold. Finished outside the medals in the women's 400 free. Ono Chikako of Japan, and outside bent perhaps for a medal, Marina Podubna with the swim cap over her goggles. Lee, Ono, Wang, Podubna, Rabolini and Blaternova of Slovakia. So the world champion and world record holder of People's Republic of China, just 18 years old, is Wang Qinyi. going in lane 4, and while she darts out into a big lead despite a relatively sluggish start, just a little bit of veering into the lane rope in the early stages, not quite costing her time, but just allowing the push from Podobna to get within a body length of her.
Yeah, I mean, Wong's start was very slow off the blocks, but it was her use of the underwater that allowed her, it really put her into this position. Good turn there, and here she is off the water. It's this fly kick that she does off the water that really helps her, and then she goes right into this second leg. And it's important, again, that she hugs the lane line without crashing into it. That can really hurt. It takes away some of your speed, but she is looking very straight right now.
So Wang Xinyi of People's Republic of China is going to be sprinting away with this, it seems. The teenager from Hebei province going in lane 2. Li Guizhi is making up some tremendous ground in the pool, and she'll comfortably touch second, it seems, with Podobna set to touch third. A Paralympic record for Wang Xinyi, a 1:17.66. Mary Fisher's record from Brazil is replaced. Podobna touches third behind Li Guizhi of China, but that is a great marker laid down. Might have been outside the medals in the 400 free, but somebody who's also a very good individual medley swimmer. And the world champion in the backstroke. She's set the Paralympic record in the preliminaries.
And look how slow Wong is off the blocks. I mean, the other swimmers are almost in the water by the time Wong actually starts to sprint, but it's her use of the underwater that puts her right in the first position. Here she is heading in. Great turn, a little bit close, but again, it's her use of the underwater as she just takes it right there and goes straight in. She stays very straight. Here she is. She's right next to the lane line, which really guides her, and she keeps her head very straight. Here's the tap to finish. It's a great finish on her end. 1:17.66, very fast swim. Lee also taking 5 seconds off of her sea time. That was a great swim by her as well.
So between the two Chinese swimmers, first and second, Li Guizhi, yes, well below her seed time, but Wang Xinyi, after that World Championship swim and world record in London 2 years ago as a 16-year-old, there would be few betting against her at her first Paralympic Games to come up and claim the title. Li Guizhi of China as well, the champion in the women's 50 free in Rio. Swimmers in this classification, blackout goggles they swim with. Just being inspected first before they're allowed to collect their personal belongings. China 1-2, Wang Xinyi, Li Guizhi ahead of Podobna with Rabolini in fourth for Italy. And hoping to make her way into the final was Ono, but with that time is unfortunately not going to. China's 1, 2, 3, and then two swimmers from RPC and two from Ukraine. Rabolini is the only one who does not have a compatriot in the final. But Tai Li Wen against Wang Xinyi should be very entertaining.
Yeah, the Chinese could sweep again. Shevchenko, though, she could give the Chinese a run for their money, especially for that silver and bronze position.
Next are the heats of the men's 200-meter individual medley SM8. Diogo Cancelo of Portugal among those who goes, but again, looking out for the two Chinese swimmers in the center lanes. Well, this is the third event for Xu Haijiao. This is possibly his favorite event. Ollie Hind, the world record holder and defending champion, not in Tokyo. Xu, a bronze medalist from 2016. Really good fly swimmer, really good freestyler as well. Often used for freestyle relays. Cancela, Mikelantzakis, Shu, Yang, Onea, and Ogiwara. The home favorite go in this, the men's 200-meter individual medley SM8. The swim will see them start with the butterfly and then into the backstroke and then breaststroke before finishing with the freestyle. So hard out. Mikelantzakis of Greece is a very good fly stroker. So Hu Jiao touches third, but he'll make up ground, you expect. Mikelantzakis at the moment still holding on to the lead, but Young will be wanting to close him down in the backstroke, and indeed Ogiwara, who's a stronger backstroker than fly swimmer.
Yeah, I mean, Mikelantzakis, we expected him to go out in the fly. He is traditionally a fly swimmer. He's got that arm impairment, though, so he needs to, he needs to try and hang on, especially going into the breaststroke leg. And right now, you see all the other swimmers really start to creep up and take over from him. We'll see if Mikelantzakis can even hang on for second or third here.
It's going to ultimately come down to the breaststroke and freestyle legs. So at the 100, it is Ogiwara who is in front. So Ogiwara.
And here comes Onea. Onea probably has the best breaststroke of them all, as you see him start to really lean into that kick and take use of it. Although Yang, he's hanging in there with that breaststroke as well.
Well, everybody's seemingly coming up in a line here. This is how close it is with 50 meters to swim.
Yeah, Onea, he's got that arm impairment, so he's going to be a little bit unbalanced. Yang, great breaststroke legs as he goes right into the freestyle. He's going to have to maximize the use of his legs and also that single arm right there as he gets his way through the freestyle.
Onea swimming really well. He failed to make the final in both London and Rio, but he's looking good for a decent enough time to qualify for the final here. The Austrian, who's a former Paralympic Games medalist, both in Rio. Last time he won a breaststroke bronze medal, but this is going to be a really good swim from Mikelantzakis, who's going to touch first. Back end strong enough to see the Greek swimmer touch first ahead of Shu and Yang. Onea ultimately down to 5th overall, with Diego Cancelo swimming fastest. Had Mikelantzakis perhaps dragging him along. So the Greek swimmer on top in this SM8 classification.
And here is the official results for the event's 200-meter individual medley SM8 P1.
予選1組の公式記録が表示されています。続いて予選2組です。
The bronze medalist in the 100 free. Really strong to come home. 2:28.58. Not quite his best.
No, but you can see Mikelantzakis, I mean, what he did, here's him diving in, is he went out hard in the fly. We knew that he would, but in this heat, given how fast his classification is, he needs to go out hard. He's very good at these long axis strokes, meaning fly and freestyle, and he needs to get whatever advantage he can, because it's backstroke and breaststroke here where you see him just kind of start to fall behind. Coming into the freestyle, Mikelantzakis, he had an excellent freestyle where he just came back and he took the lead. 2:28. It's a respectable time for preliminaries. I do think this second heat is going to be much faster, though.
Confirming the results, a man who's been a Paralympic Games gold medalist, but in the 100 fly in Rio, Mikelantzakis takes the win ahead of Shu and Yang. Andrade, Angles, Dubrov, Griswold, Martinez, and Liu Fengqi. But how about that for a start from Denis Dubrov? Now, you would have to argue that Denis Dubrov might have a bit of a point to prove here, the 32-year-old from Ukraine. He missed out completely on the medals in the men's 100-meter freestyle. But a man who won the 200 IM swimming as an S10 swimmer in Rio, now in the SM8s.
Yeah, there's been a lot of classification changes in this category. You saw Ali Hind, current world record holder, although maybe after tonight, no more. He withdrew due to classification issues. He went up a little bit, and then also you have Denis Dubrov, who was a 10, is now in this classification. But right now, in the second leg in the backstroke, Rob Griswold is looking spectacular. I mean, we knew he had an unbelievable backstroke leg after he shattered the world record in that. Now going into the breaststroke, that's going to be one of his weaker legs. The question is, has he given himself enough of a lead over Dubrov to see if he can hang on?
He might be high on confidence as well after that incredible 100 backstroke gold that he managed to claim with such confidence, upgrading a bronze from Rio to a gold at Tokyo.
And here comes Dubrov. Look at that breaststroke. Yeah. I mean, his kick, it is so powerful. He gets so high out over the water. He's going to be unbalanced due to his arm impairment, but it's the kick that's able to really drive here, and he's going right past Rob Griswold.
So Griswold is got a little bit of a battle on his hands as well, because Jesse Ungles of Australia is making up ground on him. Now Ungles, who finished just outside the medals in the backstroke final that Griswold went on to win. He's successfully qualified for the 200 IM final previously, finished 6th in Rio. And while he's lost a little at the wall, he's a very strong freestyler as well coming home. So the man who would fancy his freestyle and butterfly strokes as well as his backstroke, maybe not his breaststroke. Jesse Ungles, 3rd. Griswold holding on for 2nd, but the SM10 winner of the gold in the 200 IM in Rio, Denis Dubrov, who is taking it so easy. Touches first ahead of Griswold. Jesse Ungles finishes 3rd, the 26-year-old Australian. So you look at that and you would have to argue that while it's not the quickest time, nowhere close to his best, you just wonder how much energy he has saved, and he's still swum to a comfortable victory in the heats.
Yeah, here they are off the blocks. Dubrov, excellent start on his end. Griswold, a little bit of a slower start, but then Griswold, he really takes the fly. And here they are on the backstroke. Dubrov, he's again behind, where Griswold, such a great backstroker as we saw. And then, but it's the breaststroke where Dubrov, see, he's a little bit unbalanced there, but his kick is so strong that he takes the lead. Griswold stroking there, trying to get back with Dubrov, but Dubrov is he's too strong in the freestyle, and he's going to be so much faster tonight, I expect, because he's going to want to break that world record set by Ali Hind.
Oh, he is hoping to see that go. Confirming it's Dubrov ahead of Griswold, ahead of Ungles. Liu Fengqi finishing under 2 minutes 30, but 4th overall. Advancing to the final, no surprise, Denis Dubrov qualifying quickest ahead of Robert Griswold. Also successfully under 2:30, Mikel Nzakis, Ungles, and all 3 of the Chinese swimmers who qualify, Xu, Liu, and Yang. Don't look at where they qualified. You can expect them to challenge for medals. Women's 200-meter individual medley SM8 heats upon us. The first heat of 2. So heat 1. We have Brock Whiston, the world record holder, 2:35.30, not here. The Paralympic record set by Jessica Long on her way to the title in London in 2012. Italy's Palazzo going in 5. A scratch from Ishulova going in 4. So Finter, Mark, Palazzo and Shepherd. Now, Palazzo's gone well below 3 minutes, and she's the only swimmer who's done so in the swimmers in the field for this first heat. And she's already extended an advantage that is over a body length in front and only looking to increase as the swimmers go out for fly, back, breast, and then free.
Palazzo, she's got a very strong fly here, which you can see, and she's demonstrating. She's way ahead of anyone else, although the absence of Ishilova in this event means that there's probably no one, unless, I mean, never say never, but it does seem that there's not going to be anyone that can truly challenge Jessica Long in Heat 2.
And so many of these swimmers have been inspired by Jessica Long, who will go in Heat 2, as you say, but Palazzo was so unfortunate to miss out in the medal in the women's 100 back. She had a good swim. She ended up touching 4th fastest overall. Qualified for finals in Rio, 2 finals it was, both in the free and in the backstroke. But in this 200 individual medley, she's looking to qualify for a final again. She managed to sneak into her first global IM final at the World Championships in London, and she's wanting to make this count. Going up on her outside, though, is Haven Shepherd, the 18-year-old, who's among the many swimmers inspired by Jessica Long. And what a chance to swim with one of your heroes if indeed you qualify. Haven Shepherd, 18-year-old, leading at the 100-meter mark.
Yeah, so Palazzo, she didn't have a great backstroke there, and Shepherd really made up a lot of time. She caught right up to her, but then Palazzo going right into the breaststroke. She's able to use both of her legs here and try and take that lead back with the breaststroke when Shepherd, she's falling behind again.
Strong stroker is Palazzo. This is the kind of battle that you can really enjoy when you see athletes who are so close, and I suspect we're going to see a few athletes who will be relatively close to one another, although this is Jessica Long's event to lose. Palazzo touches quickest, 2:15.76 at the 150 mark. She's not exactly on world record pace here, but she's happy to post a time under 3 minutes, and maybe will do so coming home with the free, depending on just how much she takes off.
Yeah, I mean, right now I think she's pretty much shut it down. She's got clean water to the left and to the right. She's not going to be close to that world record or Paralympic record, and she's probably not going to be able to touch Jessica Long, but with a swim like that, she has a very good chance of at least a silver.
A 2:55 is exactly what you needed, just reminding those that'll be thinking about medals that she's a sub 3-minute swimmer. Mark of Germany touches second, a 3:04.65 and a 3:08.04 for Haven Shepherd, who is leading at the 100 mark. Amalie Winter of Denmark touches 4th quickest overall. Would really love to medal the 23-year-old at her 2nd Paralympic Games.
Here's Palazzo off the blocks. She goes right into that fly. She did a wonderful fly here. Very solid, very even. She didn't appear to tire out really towards the end as she heads in to the backstroke. The backstroke was undoubtedly her weakest leg. She's able to get a little bit of a fly kick off the turn, but here she's really moving her legs. She does do a rotation, but she's moving her head a lot. She's not being that efficient. Then she comes back into the breaststroke. She does have weakness in her legs, but she still is able to get a bit of a kick, which allowed her to take the lead back from the Shepherd. And then the freestyle, great freestyle.
The results then for the women's 200-meter individual medley SM8. Palazzo ahead of Mira Mark of Germany. Haven Shepherd finishing 3rd quickest overall. Winter of Denmark, a 3:12.70, but good sub 3-minute swim from the winner. Well, Jessica Long has a career haul of 24 Paralympic Games medals. This is among her favorite events, and this will be a milestone 25th Paralympic Games record if she can win this in the final. She wants to put in a good time, and she wants to show her ability once again. The world-renowned Jessica Long. Going in lane 4. Dushkova, Suder, Long, Pavlova and Gonzalez of Colombia. So Long doesn't get much off the starting blocks, but she has an incredible stroke, and she'll be in front by the end of 50, you imagine. Gonzalez is a strong fly swimmer, might be able to hold on, and it looks like Suder of Spain is currently third in the stroke.
Yeah, and you saw Jessica Long, she always uses a towel on the block. Rudy Garcia Tolson does the same thing. They do that, one, because the block can be slippery, and two, because the block, it's very scratchy, and so it scratches their legs, and so they put the towel there to make it a bit of a softer surface. Jessica Long now in the backstroke. I mean, if you look at her strokes, they are textbook. She's one of the most technically sound swimmers in the pool. Here she is with her backstroke. She very straight arms. She goes in, you know, with her pinkies to minimize drag. I mean, just watching her is it's basically a lesson on how to swim with your upper body on every single stroke.
She is absolutely remarkable. She made her debut as a smiling 12-year-old in Athens in 2004, but she really shot to international prominence with her follow-up in Beijing, despite the fact that she won, what was it, 3 gold medals in Athens. Jessica Long has gone on to win 13 career golds and 24 Paralympic Games medals overall. But she is, as you say, technically as gifted as any swimmer anywhere. Her upper body is absolutely precise. She's put in the hard work. And she recently announced that what she would like to do is, following the announcement that Los Angeles 2028, she'll be having a chance to swim in front of her home crowd, that she's considering ending her career then. Right now, she is considering nothing more than a good time that'll get her a center lane for what she hopes to be the 25th Paralympic Games medal of her career and her 14th gold.
I mean, Jessica Long is way out by herself. She's over 10 meters ahead of anyone else right now. She heads into the final turn. That breaststroke, beautiful, beautiful height as she goes into freestyle. You know, Jessica Long at this point, she could shut it down, but she doesn't. You know, she's still going out there. She's still putting in the work right now, and it's a very deliberate stroke. She doesn't even look like she's put it on hold at all, or she's not really saving anything up. She wants to post a good time, I think, this morning at preliminaries and send everyone a message about just how strong she is.
A reminder, Jessica Long, champion in this event in Beijing 2008, champion in London 2012, champion in Rio 2016, and clocks in here at a 2:41.83. There's nobody in the pool at these games that has swum anywhere close to that time. And Jessica Long might very well be claiming a quarter of a century of Paralympic Games medals in this event. Pavlova, the 22-year-old at her first Paralympic Games, touches second quickest with Suder of Spain, coming home third fastest, 3 minutes, 0.01 seconds, 200ths of a second outside a sub 3-minute swim. It's a time that she's only managed to achieve once previously, but for Jessica Long, it's a staple.
Here's Jess. She doesn't get a lot off the start. It's a quick start, but she doesn't get much at all, and she pops right up to the surface into the fly. Look at the butterfly, though. I mean, her arms, it's just such a powerful stroke. And she heads into the backstroke. Backstroke, probably her weakest leg in all of this, although she was still a bronze medalist. And then she heads into the breaststroke. She does a slight flip, does not get much off the wall, but the underwater pullout that she does, it really allows her to take control of the breaststroke. Look at that height. My goodness. I mean, it's such a... I keep saying it, but really her strokes are textbook. And then she comes into the freestyle. Very clean water entry, very deliberate strokes. And 2:41, very good time for her for finals. I do think she'd like to break her Paralympic record set in 2012, so we'll see if she can come near the 2:37.
So Jessica Long, 2:41.83, qualifies quickest ahead of Maria Pavlova. A very good time ahead of her, not quite ahead of her seed time, but a very good time nonetheless in the heats. And Suder just outside going sub 3. That'll take her into the final. Qualifying 4th fastest overall. Palazzo, the only swimmer from the first heat who finds herself in the top 4. But Jessica Long qualifying quickest ahead of Pavlova. She should not be challenged, Jessica Long, but on any given day, as they say. The heats now of the men's 100-meter breaststroke SB5. Andrei Granička. Watch out for the reigning world champion. He's also the world champion in the 200 IM, but picked up silver in the 200 IM here in Tokyo. But he goes for RPC in lane 4. Alongside him, Yuri Luchkin, while Brazil's Roberto Rodrigues goes in 3. And Ivo Rocha of Portugal goes in 6. So in this race, the 100-meter breaststroke, 3 of the 4 competitors start in the pool. Only Roberto Rodrigues of Brazil starts on the blocks. Doesn't get a huge amount of momentum off, and Yuri Luchkin is getting as much as he can straight into his stroke. Takes a while to find a rhythm to breathing for Luchkin. Good 4 strokes without a breath, and then up he comes. But for Granička, a little more measured, longer, more gradual strokes, and the 24-year-old is showing his quality.
Yeah, I mean, Granička, one thing he did is coming right off the blocks. You see, he doesn't spend a ton of time underwater. He doesn't really use an underwater pullout. He needs to get to the surface as quickly as possible, because for him, since he can't kick, anything he does above the water is going to be faster than what he's doing below. And you see, again, coming into the second 50, he gets right into his stroke. Now, at about the 75-meter mark for Granička, he's going to start to get really tight. So he's got to hold on and work through and get to the final, final 5-10 meters where he's all the way home. Getting through this second 50 is hard on this stroke.
But this is going to be relatively comfortable for Granička. Luchkin will hold on for the second year. Roberto Rodrigues, rather, of Brazil, going in lane 3, is just tightening up quite a bit and falling back behind and off the pace. So too the Portuguese from Rocha going in 6, but a Paralympic record here for Granička. A man who was upset in the European Championships, but is happy to come home in Paralympic record time here. The reigning world champion, touching ahead of Luchkin, his compatriot, and Rodrigues, 3rd quickest. The 2 RPC swimmers side by side. Granička, that's Luchkin, Granička behind him, who is representing RPC. Paralympic record for Granička, went out in 42.41.
Yeah, Granička, he does tend to go out very fast. And so the key for him is to make sure that he doesn't overswim the first 50, because for him, coming home, it gets very hard. You see right now, this is him in his second 50, this stroke. It's much shorter, it's much tighter. He's not catching as much water. So even though he goes out fast, in order to challenge Ponce Bertrand, who's going to be stronger in the second half, Granička, he needs to keep it controlled. And he's got more left in the tank. His C time is about 1.6 seconds faster than the 1.28, 1:28.20 that he just swam. So it should be a good race tonight.
Confirming the results, Henrik van der Merwe goes for South Africa in 2. Leo McRae of Switzerland, world record holder, Ponce goes in lane 4. Lee Chung-shan goes for China in 5, while Do Hang Tan Hai of Vietnam goes in lane 6. There is the world record holder. Now 34, already a silver medalist at these Games in the 200 free. Van der Merwe, McRae, Ponce, Lee and Do. Got off the starting block from Leo McRae of Switzerland, but into the stroke, and you are seeing Do start hard and Ponce come just flying by, really, the other competitors.
Yeah, Ponce, look at that stroke. He's pulling a lot of water. He doesn't breathe every stroke. I mean, he's breathing 1, 2. It's like every 5th stroke here. I mean, he's just really cruising. He's going to have the same issue, though, as Granička. If he goes out hard, he is going to start to tighten up during that second 50. And, you know, Ponce and Granička, they do have quite the rivalry in this breaststroke because Ponce broke Granička's world record when he went and he set it, that 125 mark. So they are going to go head-to-head tonight in that final. But Ponce right now looking very good.
He's looking sensational, the 34-year-old, going along very nicely. He's well ahead as the swimmers almost line up in a V with McRae to his left and Lee to his right. Do of Vietnam and South Africa's Van der Merwe just falling a little behind the pace. Van der Merwe, incidentally coached now by the great Ty Slattery of South Africa, who is turned his focus to coaching and allowing so many young swimmers an opportunity in South Africa. And lovely swim from Ponce. A Paralympic record that he's taken back. Wasn't sure he'd get it done, but there's definitely a message being delivered in the pool between Granička and Ponce. He's the form swimmer right now. Lee of China finishes second. McRae touches third, and here is Van der Merwe. What a swim from Ponce. You don't want to expend too much energy. The 2017 world champion has decided he wanted his Paralympic record back.
Yeah, he probably saw Granička and it's like, yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, I'm going to break it right back.
Not going to swim what I might have planned, no. I'm going to take it back with a 126. But he is genuinely a quality swimmer, and he set the world record, as you said. That 125 came this year in May, so he is in form.
Yeah, and Ponce, he went out hard, but when he turns into the second 50, that stroke, it really starts to tighten up. And you can see how hard it is to keep his head above the water. In breaststroke, the head does have to break every single stroke to prevent the DQ, which is very challenging for the swimmers that are entirely on their arms, because when they tighten, the head starts to sink.
Confirming the results, 126.72 for Ponce, well ahead of Li Chunshang of China. Leo McRae, 133.86. Confirming who advances to the final. That's good enough for Do to advance to the final from that last heat, so to Leo McRae. But Ponce against Granička, that is a battle you do not want to miss. Now taking a look at the women's 100-meter breaststroke SB5 classification, Yu Maori will go in lane 1 as one of the home hopefuls. In an event that was dominated by Germany's Kirsten Brun in years gone by. It's Rung of Norway going alongside Grace Harvey, who's been swimming the best times in the world this year, just about. She and Mereshko have both put in really quick times. Mereshko will go in the second heat. Rung won the SB4 breaststroke in Rio. Yui Talamona, Harvey, Rung and Trin of Vietnam and already into it. Grace Harvey is looking very strong for the opening stage of this race.
Yeah, and you saw Grace Harvey. She did. She was one of the swimmers here who used a diving start, so she got the additional advantage of using the height. And the key for some of the swimmers, if you don't have use of their legs, is how to use the height without then subsequently going too deep in the water. But she does seem to have mastered that. And now she's looking very good, not breathing every stroke here again, which was the same technique that we saw with the men.
Grace Harvey, like many athletes, a little superstitious, likes to put French braids in her hair before every race. And she touches first at the wall at the 50-meter mark. And it's an opportunity to claim victory in this opening heat of the women's 100-meter breaststroke SB5. Rung of Norway, the champion in the SB4 classification in Rio.
The world record here, Kirsten Brunn, I don't think is going to be challenged. Mereshko, you never know. She's having, a tremendous meet. But Kirsten Brunn, just to talk about this world record for a minute, I saw her set it in Eindhoven in 2010. You said she was dominant. I don't even know if that word can fully describe her. Like, we used to watch Kirsten Brunn from the ready room, and all of us in the SB6 classification were just relieved we didn't have to challenge her.
No challenge here for Grace Harvey in the end as she touches ahead of Talamona with a strong back 50, while Sarah Louise Rung of Norway, the SB4 champion in Rio, as I mentioned, who touched second at the wall, just gliding home third. Yui of Japan, fifth.
Here Grace Harvey is off the block. Again, that's a lot of practice to be able to use the height of the block when you can't push as much with your legs to make sure that you don't go too deep. Because if you go too deep, then you lose any momentum that you would have otherwise generated. And here she is into the turn. And what she does is she pulls, but she pops right up. She doesn't spend too much time underwater, because if you don't have the kick and you spend too much time underwater, it can actually hurt you more than help. And here she is in the second 50. She has to control that because that stroke is starting to get tight.
Grace Harvey ahead of Ariana Talamona, with Sarah Louise Rung of Norway finishing third. This is about watching times to see who advances to the final. Song Ling has a chance to medal again in this. She was a bronze medalist in Rio, a silver medalist in London. But Elizaveta Mareshko is the swimmer to watch going in lane 4, while Verena Schott is maybe not considered on paper somebody to look out for straight off the bat. But as we take a look at Song Ling, she's had a fair bit of trouble this campaign. In Tokyo 2020, this is her third race, failing to finish one. Women's 200 IM individual medley bronze medalist Verena Schott of Germany, though, goes in lane 5, and she should be one to watch undoubtedly. But Elizaveta Mareshko, there is possibly one swimmer who can challenge her in Grace Harvey, who won the opening heat, but champion of the women's 50 free, silver in the women's 200 IM, and the dominant swimmer in this event. The women's 100 breaststroke goes in 4. Sakona, Song, Mareshko, Schott and Björnsdottir of Iceland going in lane 6. Mareshko and Schott, I want to see how well Schott does, because she is swimming the best she has in years, and this is again, it's just a wonderful story to see Schott swimming as well as she is coming into her own at the age of 32.
Yeah, I mean, look right now, Shot, she's actually a little bit ahead of Mereshko. Mereshko, what she's doing is she's breathing about every 5th stroke, I'd say, versus Shot, she's got a much higher stroke. She's way more on top of the water, and what that's allowing her to do is generate a slight butterfly kick and kind of use that to generate some momentum. But Mereshko, that fast turnover rate, it is allowed her to take the lead here. And now going into the second 50, we'll see if Mereshko can hang on.
So the 200 IM silver medalist and the 200 IM bronze medalist are going head to head here, and it is Mereshko who is leading the way for now. Mereshko is the class act, so to speak, but watch out for Song Ling Ling in the back 100 as well. She's not to be discounted with the in the back 50 rather. She's not to be discounted coming home, but it is going to be Mereshko who is comfortably in front by now. And Verena Schott, who was a silver medalist in the IM in London 9 years ago, is going to touch second behind Mereshko, with Song Ling Ling, a former 100 back champion, touching third quickest overall. Bjorn Stotter home fourth, while in fifth is Maria Tsakona of Greece, as she touches the wall now.
So for Mereshko, you see she does the sit start instead of, coming up to the full height, which allows for a faster water entry, and it means that she doesn't go quite as deep. She goes right into this breaststroke, where what she does is she breathes pretty much every 4th or 5th stroke, which increases her turnover rate. And, like all the other swimmers who are employing this type of technique, it's hard on the second half when you start to really tighten and your stroke starts to shorten up quite a bit. 143 flat, I mean, I do think she would have preferred to go under 143 and to be seated ahead of Grace Harvey, because Mereshko, she does not tend to, go too much cruise to really, cake it or anything in the preliminary. She does tend to swim all out in both preliminaries and finals. But when she's next to Grace Harvey tonight, I do think she's going to really try and turn it on to take the gold.
The women's 100-meter breaststroke SB5 classification. The world champion, the gold medalist in Rio, Elizaveta Mereshko, is the swimmer to catch, and she's proved it again with a victory in the second heat. And she does not advance as the fastest swimmer. That is something that belongs to Grace Harvey of Great Britain.
And she would have preferred to go in first.
So lane 5 for... Well, it's the flags of Japan and South Africa. Go Japan! There's been plenty of Go Japan and Go for the Japanese athletes. They have been wildly applauded. To be fair, the officials have been applauding everybody, but there's an extra delight when a Japanese swimmer pulls off something. Tokyo 2020 swimming continues on day 4. The preliminary session is done. The finals session to come, and we are set for another cracking session of spectacular sprinting in the pool. There are some absolute highlights that you will be able to enjoy undoubtedly, and records to be broken. We know they will come. It's just who will break them and how fast they will go really is the question. That has been another entertaining morning, Tokyo local time at the Tokyo Aquatic Center, as swimmers across the classifications have impressed with peerless performances in the pool. That concludes, though, the preliminary session on day 4 of the swimming competition at the Tokyo Aquatic Center.